Hello my lovelies, it is time for round 40 of Have I Read It? So stay tuned. So if you watched my last Have I Read It, you know that I am doing 4 Have I Read It's this month. So this is number 2. Oh my goodness. Hopefully this one goes better than the last one. And if you don't know, Have I Read It is just a way that I pick books or let you help with picking books for my TBR for the upcoming month. So what I do is I go and react to a video from over 3 years ago, a haul, and I tell you if I've read the books, if I haven't read the books, if I've unhauled the books, and out of the books that I haven't read that I stack up here, you get to vote. For as many different books as you like, you get to vote which book or books that you want me to read in the next month. And if I have 10 or less, I just pick the number 1 voted book. If I have 11 to 20, I pick the number 2, like the top 2 voted books, and so on and so on. So the more I haven't read, the more I'm gonna have to read. And I have to read more than one for the last one I did. So hopefully this one does better. So I've already got the video pulled up and we are ready to go. So let's go. Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. So today begins part 2 of my October book outlet haul. So stay tuned. So I still have 9 boxes left to unbox. Oh my goodness. All right, well let's just get right into it. All right. We got paper, so much paper, and my receipt. There's a lot of books in this box. Okay, so the first book in this box is Between Shades of Grey by Rupta Depetya. I'm pretty sure I've read that one, but I have to check. Yes, that is the one that I've read. I couldn't remember because I knew that there was at least one of her books that I'd read, and I have a few of them. I think that was the only one that I read. So, yeah, I read it. Yay. Next up. Okay, the next book in here is a book that has gotten a lot of hype. I've heard really good things about it. I know Julie over at Pages and Pen loves this book, and yeah, I think it's gonna be really good. And that is The Wicked Deep. Okay, I have not read The Wicked Deep, so let me go and grab that. All right, this says, welcome to the cursed town of Sparrow. 2 centuries ago, 3 sisters were sentenced to death for witchery. Stones were tied to their ankles and they were drowned in the deep water surrounding the town. Now, for a brief time each summer, the sisters return, stealing the bodies of 3 troubled girls, so they may seek their revenge, luring boys into Sparrow's harbor and pulling them under. And that's all I'm going to read of this one. So if you want me to read this, vote The Wicked Deep. All right, next up. Okay, the next book in the box is Beauty by Nancy Olin. I think I've unhauled that. Let me check real quick. Yes, I've recently unhauled that. Next. Okay, the next book is The Beast is an Animal by Pitternell Van Arsdale. I have unhauled this one as well. Next. Okay, next is The Accidental Afterlife of Thomas Marsden by Emma Trevane. I haven't read that one, but have I unhauled it or not? I have to check. I unhauled that one as well. Next. Okay, so the next thing in here is another thing for Xander. So he asked if I could find a book that was like how to draw manga, and there was only one at the time, and it was this, and it's Manga Mania Romance by Chris Hart. So I'm marking this one as unhaul because this was one for Xander. Next. Okay, next up was a set that came together, and I don't know why these came together because they're by 2 different authors, but it was just what Book Outlet had. Try to take this plastic off. Okay, so the two books in this set were Looking for Alaska by John Green. I have not read Looking for Alaska, so let me go grab that. Okay, this says before, Miles Pudge Halter's whole existence has been one big non-event, and his obsession with famous last words has only made him crave the great perhaps even more. He heads off to the sometimes crazy, possibly unstable, and anything but boring world of Culver Creek boarding school, and his life becomes the opposite of safe. Because down the hall is Alaska Young, the gorgeous, clever, funny, sexy, self-destructive, screwed up, and utterly fascinating Alaska Young, who is an event unto herself. She pulls Pudge into her world, launches him into the great perhaps, and steals his heart. After, nothing is ever the same. So if you want me to read this, vote Looking for Alaska. Now let's see what this other book was. And Mosquito Land by David Arnold. I did read Mosquito Land, but I've unhauled that one. All right, next up. Okay, so next up we have a duology, and this is the Pumpkin Falls Mystery series. Then I have Absolutely Truly and Yours Truly by Heather Vogel Frederick. I have not read either of those, so let me grab the first one. Okay, so the first book is Absolutely Truly. This says, at almost 6 feet tall, 12-year-old Truly Lovejoy stands out in a crowd, whether she likes it or not. She doesn't. So when her family up and moves to teeny tiny, super boring Pumpkin Falls, New Hampshire, Truly doesn't stand a chance at blending in. But when helping out at the family bookstore one day, Truly finds a mysterious letter inside an old copy of Charlotte's Web, and soon she and her new friends are swept up in a madcap treasure hunt around town. While chasing clues that could spell danger, Truly discovers there's more to Pumpkin Falls than meets the eye, and that blending in can be overrated. And this does sound super cute. So if you want me to read this, vote Absolutely Truly. All right, continuing on. Okay, next up is Tell Me No Lies by Adele Griffin. And this is a companion novel to Be True to Me, but I'm hoping that this is something that you could just read on your own. Okay, I have not read Tell Me No Lies. I have to look to see if I've unhauled that one or not. Okay, here it is. This says, Lizzie Swift is a senior in high school, shyly emerging from her nerd chrysalis to take her first gamble on the Argyle social scene. She braves a relationship with her longtime crush, Matt Ashley, and befriends the reckless, enigmatic senior transfer, Claire Reynolds, who introduces Lizzie to downtown Philadelphia, its clubs, street life, and vibrant art scene. Soon, art and passion take priority over homework, after-school jobs, and her long-standing Ivy League ambitions. But almost as quickly, these delights and distractions are clouded by suspicions and doubts. Sometimes Lizzie feels that she and Matt are soulmates. Other times it seems he's holding back from her. Claire can be moody, and while she confesses bits and pieces of a breakup so heart-wrenching she changed schools, she won't tell Lizzie the whole story. Lizzie wants Claire to confide in her, even as she keeps her own secrets from her new best friend. When startling revelations inevitably come to light, they just might shatter these delicate bonds of love and passion, friendship and loyalty. Set against the neon pop of the late 80s and told with authentic voice and inimitable prose, Adele Griffin's heart-racing novel takes readers on a journey through the thrill of rebellion and the complications of first love. So if you want me to read this, vote Tell Me No Lies. All right, next up. Okay, next up is Everything All at Once by Katrina Leno. I don't think I've read that. Let me check. No, I don't think I have, so let me go grab that. Okay, this says, Lottie Reeves is not a risk taker. She plays it safe and avoids all the ways she might get hurt. But when her beloved Aunt Helen dies of cancer, Lottie's fears about life and death start spiraling out of control. Aunt Helen wasn't a typical aunt. She was the author of the best-selling Alvin Hatter series about siblings who discovered the elixir of immortality. Her writing inspired a generation of readers. She knew how magical writing could be, and that words have the power to make you see things differently. In her will, Aunt Helen leaves one writing project just for Lottie. It's a series of letters, each containing mysterious instructions that are supposed to get Lottie to take a leap and for once in her life really live. But when the letters reveal an extraordinary secret about the inspiration for the Alvin Hatter series, Lottie finds herself faced with an impossible choice, one that will force her to confront her greatest fears once and for all. This very much gives me 13 Little Blue Envelopes by Maureen Johnson vibes, which I really, really enjoyed. So if you want me to read this, vote everything all at once. All right, next up. Okay, next up is another middle grade novel, and that is Once Upon a Toad by Heather Vogel Frederick. I have not read that. Let me check and make sure that that is like the first book in a series. Okay, it looks like it's actually a standalone, so let me grab that. Okay, this one says, once upon a time, Kat Starr lived with her astronaut mom in Houston. But when her mother gets sent on a long-term mission, Kat has to move to a faraway land, her dad's house, halfway across the country, and share a room with her real-life evil stepsister, Olivia. Just when Kat can't take it anymore, Great Aunt Abyssina comes to the rescue, and things go from bad to worse. The next morning, Kat opens her mouth, and a toad hops out. What's more, when Olivia speaks, diamonds and flowers appear. How unfair is that? Before you can say happily ever after, the girls are on the run from jewel thieves and a government agency. Can Kat save the day and get rid of all of those toads? This is an enchanting, fractured fairy tale from the acclaimed The Mother-Daughter Book Club author Heather Vogel Frederick. So if you want me to read this, vote Once Upon a Toad. All right, next up. So if you saw part 1, you saw that I got Wish You Were Ire by Heather Vogel Frederick, and I told you that this was the 6th book in the Mother-Daughter Book Club series. Well, in this box I got the rest of the series. So we have book 1, which is the Mother-Daughter Book Club, which is a Little Woman retelling. Read the first book, Mother-Daughter Book Club. Next. All of these are different, like, retelling kind of things. So, Little Women. Then we have Much Ado About Anne, which is Anne of Green Gables. Read Much Ado About Anne. Then we have Dear Pen Pal, which is Daddy Longlegs by Jean Webster. Read Dear Pen Pal. Then we have Pies and Prejudice, which Pride and Prejudice. Read Pies and Prejudice. And then we have Home for the Holidays. Home for the Holidays. I'm not sure if I read that one or not. I can't remember. I think maybe I did. Yes, I did read that one. Okay, next. And then Mother-Daughter Book Camp. Okay, so that is the one that I haven't read. So let me go grab that. I'm not really sure why I didn't read this one when I was reading the other ones, because I was literally reading them back to back to back. And so I don't know why I didn't read the last book. There's 7 books in this series and I read 6. So this one says the Mother-Daughter Book Club goes to summer camp in this 7th and final installment of the Mother-Daughter Book Club series. After so many summers together, Emma, Jess, Megan, Becca, and Cassidy are reunited for one final hurrah before they go their separate ways. The plan is to spend their summer as counselors at Camp Lovejoy in a scenic, remote corner of New Hampshire. But things get off to a rocky start when their young charges are stricken with a severe case of homesickness. Luckily, the girls have the perfect cure in mind. So if you want me to read this, vote Mother-Daughter Book Camp. All right, next up. Okay, so that was box 1. 2 more to go. All right. Paper. 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 And receipt. Okay, so the first book in this box is Nemesis by Brendan Reich. I think I've unhauled that one. Let me check. Nope, I was wrong. I was thinking about something else. So this says, It's been happening since Min was 8. Every 2 years on her birthday, a strange man finds her and murders her in cold blood. But hours later, she wakes up in a clearing just outside her tiny Idaho hometown, alone, unhurt, and with all evidence of the horrifying crime erased. And Einstein's, of course, under here with the bone. Across the valley, Noah just wants to be like everyone else, but he's not. Nightmares of murder and death plague him, though he does his best to hide the signs. But when the world around him begins to spiral toward panic and destruction, Noah discovers that people have been lying to him his whole life. Everything changes in the blink of an eye. And that's all I'm going to read of that. So if you want me to read this, vote Nemesis. So we're up to 8 books now, and we're only halfway through. I have a feeling I might have to read more than one for this video too. Next. Okay, next up is Sight Witch by Susan Dennard. I have not read Sight Witch. I'm not sure if that's the first book though, so let me check. No, that's like book 2.5. Truth Witch is the first one, so let me go grab that. Okay, this says, on a continent ruled by 3 empires, some are born with a witchery, a magic skill that sets them apart from others. In the Witchlands, there are almost as many types of magic as there are ways to get in trouble, as 2 desperate young women know all too well. Saphia is a truth witch, able to discern truth from lie. It's a powerful magic that many would kill to have on their side, especially amongst the nobility to which Sapphi was born. So Sapphi must keep her gift hidden, lest she be used as a pawn in the struggle between empires. And that's all I'm going to read of that. If you want me to read this, vote Truth Witch. All right, let me get back to the video. All right, next. Next up, we have an Alice in Wonderland coloring book. Okay, this is a coloring book, so I guess I'll just mark it as read. Next. So you may have seen in one of my September book outlet hauls, I can't remember if it was part 1 or part 2, but I got some manga inspired classics like Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland and Pollyanna. And I mean, they were the original stories, but the illustrations were done in like a manga style. And in this order, I also got a couple of those. So we have The Little Princess. I can't remember if I've read The Little Princess. I don't think that I have, but I've packed this up as we're in the middle of moving and stuff, so this has already been packed away. You know what, I'm just gonna say, if you want me to read A Little Princess, vote for that. We'll imagine it's here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that would be the 10th book. Great. And then hopefully I'll have it unpacked by the time I have to like figure out the results. All right, next up. And another one like that, but I don't know this story, is The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. I haven't read this one. I might not have this one packed yet, so let me go look. Okay, here we go. Apparently this is the classic fantasy novel that inspired The Lord of the Rings and the Chronicles of Narnia. It says, in a lonely mountain kingdom, 8-year-old Princess Irene explores the labyrinthine halls of her father's castle, where secrets abound. Who is the beautiful silver-haired woman who Irene discovers alone in the castle tower, and what lurks in the tunnels beneath the castle? After being attacked by fanged creatures and rescued just in time by Curdy, a courageous miner boy, Irene learns about a race of vengeful goblins. Along with her newfound friend and some magical assistants, Irene must figure out a way to thwart the goblins' plot and save her father's kingdom. So if you want me to read this, vote The Princess and the Goblin. And with that book, we have to read at least 2 from this video. Next. Okay, the next 3 books in this box are part of a series, and it's a middle grade series that I got for Xander, and that's the Misadventures of Edgar and Allan Poe. So we have book 1, The Telltale Start. I have read book 1. I don't think I've read any of the others, but let me see. Book 2, Once Upon a Midnight Eerie. Okay. I have to look. I don't think I've read Once Upon a Midnight Eerie. Okay, so these are super cute Edgar Allan Poe kind of retellings. Edgar and Allan Poe are the great grandnephews of Edgar Allan Poe, and they're twins, and this mad scientist professor P. Pangborn Perry is trying to kill one of them to prove a scientific theory of his. In the first book, he steals their cat and lures them somewhere, and don't know what's in store for them in this one. But this is super cute. It's super short, and they were fun little stories. This one's like under 200 pages, and the text is quite large. So if you want me to read this, you can write Once Upon a Midnight Eerie. Next up. And book 3, The Pet and the Pendulum. I haven't read The Pet and the Pendulum either, because that was book 3. Next. And now for the last box of this video. My receipt. Paper. Paper. I have a lot of paper piled up now. Okay, so you may have seen me haul the 3rd book in this series in a previous video. But in this one, I got Anna and the French Kiss and Lola and the Boy Next Door. That's by Stephanie Perkins. I have read them both, but I've also unhauled them both. So, next up. Okay, next up we have 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher. I have not read 13 Reasons Why. Let me go get that. Okay, so I actually unhauled that particular version. I do have another version of it, but since that version's not in this video, I'm not going to include it. However, when I went to that shelf, I found a different book that I thought I had unhauled, but I just had it on the wrong shelf, and that is The Beast is an Animal by Peternell Van Arsdale. I actually had it under Arsdale instead of Van Arsdale. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the stack, and you can vote for it. This says, Alice was 7 the first time she saw the Soul Eaters. Twin sisters, they radiated an energy that excited Alice. Through them, she felt the wildness of the forest and the beast within it. Too late, she learned of their power to destroy. At 15, Alice knows too much about both the lure and the danger of the Soul Eaters. She lives in a world of adults who are terrified of their power. Fear of the Soul Eaters and of the beast rules their lives. Even more, they fear the ways in which the beast may lurk among them and within a girl like Alice. As the threat posed by the Soul Eaters grows, Alice must undertake a journey through the wild danger of the forest, but the greatest danger is not outside her. Alice hides a truth about herself that she can reveal to no one. Alice's secret about who and what she is terrifies her most of all, and in order to save her world, she must also risk losing herself. So if you want me to read this, vote The Beast is an Animal. Alright, continuing on. Okay, next up is The Girl Who Was Supposed to Die by April Henry. I have not read that. Hold on. Okay, this says, she doesn't know who she is, she doesn't know where she is, or why. All she knows when she comes to in a ransacked cabin is that 2 men are arguing over whether or not to kill her, and that she must run. And I've read one other April Henry book, and it was a fun, like, bite-sized thriller, quick read. I enjoyed it. So if you want me to read this, vote The Girl Who Was Supposed to Die. Alright, next up. Okay, so next up we have a duology. It's the A Point Last Seen series. So we have The Body in the Woods and Blood Will Tell by April Henry. I have not read either of those. Let me see which one's first. Okay, The Body in the Woods is the first book. This says, Alexis, Nick, and Ruby come from very different backgrounds. Alexis has spent her life covering for her mom's mental illness. Nick's bravado hides his fear of not being good enough, and Ruby just wants to pursue her eccentric interests in a world that doesn't understand her. The three teens meet when they join Portland County's search and rescue. On their first mission, they are teamed up to locate an autistic man lost in the woods. What they discover instead is a dead girl. In a friendship that will be forged in danger, fear, and courage, the three work together to find the girl's killer before one of their own becomes another victim. Again, these are fun, like bite-sized mystery thriller kind of books. So if you want me to read this, vote The Body in the Woods. All right, let me get back to the video. Next up. Okay, next up is another book by April Henry, and that is The Girl I Used to Be. I have not read The Girl I Used to Be either. Okay, this one says, 14 years ago, a 3-year-old girl was the only survivor at a horrific murder scene. All these years later, that same girl is determined to search for the truth, but the killer is even more determined to stop her. So if you want me to read this, vote The Girl I Used to Be. So we're at 16 for this stack. I'm worried that there's going to be 3 that I have to read from this video. Next. Next up is the last book in this box by April Henry, but not the last book in the box. And this one's called The Night She Disappeared. I have read that one. That was the one April Henry book that I did actually read. All right, next up. Okay, next up is Fire by Kristen Kishore. I can't remember if I've read Graceling or not. Let me check. Okay, I have read Graceling. I have not read Fire. So let me grab that. If I have to read this one, I'll probably have to like go and read a spoilery synopsis of Graceling because it's been a long time since I've read that. Okay, so what I remember about Graceling is rare people in like where she's from, they have certain special abilities called graces, and it just so happens that hers is the ability to kill. And so instead of living a pampered life as a royal, she's instead used as like the king's thug. And that's really all I remember about that. If you want me to read Fire, vote for that. All right, let me get back to the video. We're getting close to the end. Next. Okay, the last book in this box is How to Find Love in a Bookshop by Veronica Henry. I have not read that. Let me go get it. Okay, this says, everyone has a story, but will they get the happy ending they deserve? Amelia has just returned to her idyllic Cotswold hometown to rescue the family business. Nightingale Books is a dream come true for book lovers, but the best stories aren't just within the pages of the books she sells. Amelia's customers have their own tales to tell. There's the lady of the manor who's hiding a secret close to her heart, the single dad looking for books to share with his son, but who isn't quite what he seems, and the desperately shy chef trying to find the courage to talk to her crush. And for Amelia's story, can she keep the promise she made to her father and save Nightingale Books? So if you want me to read this, vote How to Find Love in a Bookshop. And I think I said that was the last book, but let me double check. Yes, that is the last book. So there ended up 17 here plus a little princess, making it 18 books. So I will have to pick the number 2 voted books that you vote for. So comment down below what you want me to read. Oh my goodness. Stay tuned for part 3. It's not looking great so far for me. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye.